Hello, what's up, dear YouTube viewers? Time flies by fast. The World Cup is almost over already, and only 4 matches remain to be played. In this video, I will give my predictions on who will win the semi-final matches. I have tried to predict the round of 32 matches, and I think I did decently good considering it was my first time. Because many of them I got correct, more than half, and even those that I didn't get correct, I was either really close to making it come true, such as the match against sorry, not I was really close to making it true, but it was really close to coming true, such as the match between Belgium and Senegal, where, like I predicted, Senegal was leading 2-0 for a long time, and Belgium got the winning goal only at the last moment. Or I was wrong, but many people were wrong about it too, such as the Germany versus Paraguay game. Sure, some of them I didn't get right completely, such as the match between Ivory Coast and Norway. But I think, given that this is my first time, I did decently well. So today I'm gonna talk about my predictions for the semifinals. Now, instead of just saying who will win and leave, I will do a longer video. I will say some arguments in favor of each side and then give my final verdict of who I think will win. Okay, so let's start with the Spain versus France game that is starting tomorrow. So the biggest argument in favor of France is that their main star Kylian Mbappe, also known as dictator among some people, is in an absolutely remarkable form. He has scored the goals in almost every game that he played in. On the other hand, Spain's main star Lamine Yamal isn't in such great form. The only opponent who he scored against was Saudi Arabia, who, with all respect to them, are not as good as France, who Spain's gonna face now. And I think this could play in France's favor. Okay, the next argument is that Deschamps as a coach has much more experience compared to De La Fuente. We can have different opinions on Deschamps' managing style, but we can't deny that what he achieved with this French team is truly remarkable. He has been in the final of the World Cup with them twice, winning one of them, and he has also been in the final of the Euros in 2016. On the other hand, De La Fuente doesn't have as much managing experience compared to Deschamps. Sure, he won the Euros with Spain, but with all respect to him, winning the Euros does not guarantee that a person is a top coach. Sometimes it's just a moment of momentum and a moment of truly good players gathering up for one game. For example, we saw what happened to both Italy in 2021 and Mancini, where they won the Euros, but right after that the same squad failed to qualify for 2 World Cups in a row, and Mancini himself got fired from his next job. So I'm not saying that winning the Euros proves nothing, it's a remarkable achievement, but still, if we compare De La Fuente's experience compared to that of Deschamps definitely wins, and this could play in France's favor. And the final argument in favor of France that I will give is that France has more world-class players. In addition to Kylian Mbappe himself, France also has Michael Olise, who had a truly remarkable season at Bayern and who many people are saying will get the Ballon d'Or. And also Ousmane Dembele, who got the Ballon d'Or last time. In the defense, France is all good too. They have players like William Saliba, who became champions of the Premier League with Arsenal. On the other hand, Spain sure also has a talented squad, but not many of their players are truly as world class as to win the Ballon d'Or, with the exception of Lamine Yamal. Spain's players are good, but they are good as a team, not really individually. Again, the only player who is truly so world class individually to win the Ballon d'Or is Lamine Yamal. So I think France definitely has a more talented squad on paper. Not saying that Spain's squad isn't talented, but if we compare, France definitely wins, and it could play in France's favor. Okay, now what are some arguments in favor of Spain? First of all, we have to start with the fact that Spain had a much tougher path compared to France. No disrespect to any one of the opponents who France faced, but let's be honest, if we compare the opponents that France faced to the opponents that Spain faced, France definitely had, or Spain definitely had a tougher path. For France, in the round of 32, they had to play Sweden, who sure had a good run considering that last time they didn't even qualify at all, but they still are not as good as Spain, considering that they even lost to teams like Kosovo and Slovenia. In the round of 16, France had to play Paraguay, who can sure be proud of themselves for having a massive upset, but let's be honest, if we compare the level of French players to the level of Paraguayan players, France definitely wins. And in the quarterfinals, they had to play Morocco, who are getting better and better, but still are not truly a world-class team, and always lose to the Europe and always lose to teams who are better than them, like France, both in 2018 and now. I'm not saying that Morocco isn't good, and I think they could become a world class team in 4 years, but at least for now, I don't think they are as good as the opponents that Spain faced. On the other hand, Spain has faced some truly tough opponents. In the round of 16, they already had to play Portugal with the light of Nuno Mendes, Vitinha and Cristiano Ronaldo, and in the quarterfinals they already had to play Belgium, who sure are not as good as they were in 2018, but still has shown some remarkable results in this World Cup, such as the result against the USA, who many people were considering to be the favorites. Of course, I'm sad that USA lost, but what Belgium did was still remarkable. So I think if we compare Spain's pass to France's pass, Spain definitely had a tougher pass. Sure, it can become a disadvantage because Spain had to work harder, but I think it's more of an advantage because Spain has already prepared to face top level teams and already more trained to face those teams. The second argument in favor of Spain is that they won the Euros, where they even eliminated France themselves. Now, you might ask, why didn't I automatically say that Spain was gonna win, given that they won in the Euros? But I still don't think that this is gonna be the decisive factor, because over the years France has improved, adding some players like Michael Olise. However, I still think that the fact that Spain won the Euros will play as an advantage for them, because even though, like I said before, a Euro win could be a one-time momentum, what Spain did was still remarkable and we still can't forget about that. And the third argument I have in favor of Spain is that they are more motivated because neither of the players on the Spanish team have won the World Cup ever before. On the other hand, many of France's key stars such as Mbappe, Dembele, and N'Golo Kante won it before. Sure, there are also some players who are not so, who have, sorry, there are also some players who are motivated to win, such as Michael Olise, but Spain has more of such players, and this could be a massive favor and a massive thing in favor of Spain because motivations plays a huge role in those semifinals. So what's my final verdict? Who do I think is gonna win? Now, personally, I'm gonna say that France will win with a minimum scoreline. Yes, I know, when I was making pre-World Cup predictions, I said that Spain as a favorite compared to France, but back then, I didn't see some of the things that happened in the Spanish squad. For example, that Lamine Yamal is not as in great form as he is right now, or that De La Fuente would prefer Cucurella to Grimaldo, or that Unai Simon would be the starting keeper. For me, if Raya was the starting keeper for Spain, I might have said that Spain will win. But for now, I still think that France will win. Sure, Unai Simon has only conceded one goal before, but it was partially due to the work of the Spanish defenders, who did everything they could to make sure that no goal ends up near Simon in the first place. Okay, now we are moving on to the second semi-final between Argentina and England. What are some arguments in favor of England? For me, the biggest one is that they have many top level players who know what it's like to be in the Champions League finals and semi-finals. For example, players such as Bakayo Saka and Noni Madueke have reached the final with Arsenal, and Harry Kane has reached the final with Tottenham before. On the other hand, in the Argentine side, the only player that has reached the Champions League final recently is Lautaro Martinez. And if we compare in the last couple of years, we could also add Nicolas Otamendi. But it's still not as much experience as on the English side. And experience could truly play a role in such games. So this is definitely an argument in favor of England. The second argument is that England has truly proved to be resilient. England has faced many opponents and went through many things. For example, they had to get to a very far distance in order to play their games. From Mexico City to Atlanta and to other cities, it was a very far distance. Also, they had to face different game scenarios. For example, against DR Congo, they had to face a boss-like team who just locks up in their defense and doesn't allow and tries to not allow the strikers of the opposite team to do anything, and they still won that game, even though they were struggling. Against Mexico, first they faced sleep deprivation by the Mexican fans, then they faced the red card for the remainder of the match, and even then they still won. And of course I wanted Mexico to win, and I'm heartbroken that Mexico wasn't able to break the round of 16 curse, but we have to admit that what England did was truly a world-class game. In the game against Norway, they completely shadowed Erling Haaland, not letting him do anything. On the other hand, if we compare the opponents that Argentina faced, let's be honest, all of them are not as good as the opponents that England has to face, and they didn't go through as much pressure. And even against those opponents, they barely squeezed through. Against Egypt, Egypt was winning 2-0 from the beginning, and Argentina only woke up at the last moment. Against Cape Verde and Switzerland, both times it went to extra time. So if Argentina struggled against such teams, I think against top level team like England, it will definitely be really hard for them. The third argument in favor of England is that the English players have more motivations compared to the Argentine. The English players has never won the World Cup before, and they are truly motivated to do it, especially Harry Kane, who has been without trophies for a long time, but now I think he could truly make it, and he has the motivation to win the World Cup finally. On the other hand, Argentine players don't have as much motivation. Sure, if they win, maybe people could become even more in favor of Argentina and say that Messi is the GOAT. Messi is the GOAT because he won it twice in a row, and before only Pele was able to do it. So I could see how Argentina has a motivation there. But I still think that if we compare England's motivation to the one of Argentina, England has more motivation. Because Messi already proven to the world what he can do. He already won the World Cup, already won more Ballon d'Ors than any other player. On the other hand, Kane has yet to win the World Cup and the Ballon d'Or, so this could be a massive motivation for him and other English players. For the England to finally win the World Cup and for Kane to prove that he is a top level player and win the Ballon d'Or. So I think England has more motivation. Now, what are some arguments in favor of Argentina? The biggest one for me is that the team became less Messi dependent. Before in the group stage, only Messi scored all of the team goals. But then in the playoff round, the team truly stepped up. In the round of 32, Messi got tired in extra time against Cape Verde, but players like Martinez still did the job. In the round of 16 game against Egypt, sure, Messi scored, but his goal wasn't even the winning one, and the other players did the job for him. Of course, he had a goal of his own too, but it was more onto other players. And the third goal, the final winning goal, was by another player. And in the game against Switzerland, he didn't even score at all, and Argentina still won. For me, this is a massive plus in favor of Argentina. Versus England, on the other hand, are really dependent on Jude Bellingham. Sure, Harry Kane also did some incredible goals for this team, such as against DR Congo, but against more stronger opponents like Mexico or Norway, it was Bellingham that scored all of the team's goals. So for me, this could raise some concerns. The second argument in favor of Argentina is that they have a potential fan advantage. Atlanta has a decently high Latin population, most of whom will be supporting Argentina. Of course, England has some of their own fans too, but not as much as Argentina. And in games like that, in the semifinals, every little factor can play to the team's advantage. So I think that this could play in Argentina's advantage. And the final biggest factor for me is rumors of conflict inside of the English team itself. There were rumors between some conflicts. There were rumors about some conflict between the team's main star Jude Bellingham and the manager Thomas Tuchel. And Tuchel is known to have conflicts with all of his past employers, so I'm not surprised at that. And that could play against England. So what is my final verdict? Okay, now I still think England will win regardless of all the problems that I have listed. Because no disrespect to Argentina, but with how they played, many times they got lucky. Because even against some weaker teams than England, and once again, no disrespect to teams like Egypt, Cape Verde, and Switzerland, what they have done was truly remarkable, but let's be honest, neither of those teams is as good as England. And even against those teams, Argentina struggled. Now they will face a top level team, and I think their run will end here. I think they will try to resist, but at the end, England will advance with a minimum scoreline, like 2-1 or 1-0, or maybe even on penalty shootouts. Although I think that's less likely because in the past England failed in penalty shootouts. Yes, I know, people are speculating that the referees are purposefully favoring Argentina, but if we based our predictions on just what truly know to be true and not on speculations, I think that England is the favorite, just barely. Okay, so those are my predictions, guys. Even if I don't get it right, I'm hopeful that I at least highlighted the strongest and weakest side of each team and help you get more deeply into soccer and understand the strengths and the weaknesses of each team. If you like this video, give it a thumb up. If you dislike it, give it a thumb down. Subscribe to my channel and leave comments. Bye guys. Have a nice day.